Hi there, and welcome back to the HQ. Today, we're going to be reacting to Oversimplified World War I Part 2. Where we last left off in World War I Oversimplified, we were getting into the nuances of trench warfare and the stalemate growing between the French-European forces against the German forces deep within German-Belgian territory. Now it looks like the big bad United States is getting involved. So let's see how that goes.
With both sides stuck in a hard stalemate, they knew this war wasn't going to be about taking territory, but about simply wearing each other down.
Right back into it.
The Allies had plenty of men to expend from its overseas dominions, and the
Oh,
British
that's right. This was back when Britain was still had control of Canada.
Of ways to break the deadlock on the Western Front.
I wonder if Canada still, because I know Canada still recognizes the British monarchy. I wonder if, I'm pretty sure Canada is, for all intents and purposes, they're independent nation now from United Kingdom. But it's still weird that they still, recognize the authority of monarchy. I always thought that was weird.
Number 1, New Frontiers. When the war first broke out, Australia was quick to take German New Guinea. The Allies also quickly jumped on Germany's colonies in Africa, and particularly in German East Africa, locals were enlisted as soldiers and carriers by both sides, leading to a tragic loss of life for the native Africans. Some new combatants
Africa just cannot catch a fucking break.
Italy and Japan. Japan was busy building itself an empire, so it was more than happy to take away German islands and colonies in East Asia. Italy actually had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary before the war. But after some tense relations, and then the Allies promising to give them some of Austria-Hungary's stuff, they switched sides. Italy opened up a front.
Yeah, we'll give you the stuff if you join our side. Doink.
The Central Powers' new friend was a struggling empire in the Middle East. The Ottomans were divided on whether to actually join the war or not, since they had been exhausted by the recent Balkan Wars. Some of the politicians who did want to join went off on their own and fired some shells at Russia, and then came back and said, whoops, looks like we're at war now. The Ottoman entry into...
God, imagine that, being stuck with, a couple of dickheads. Yeah, it did get quieter for some reason. I'll roll the volume up on, my audio output capture. Imagine that, your whole country is debating whether or not to go to war, but then a couple of rogue politicians just kind of roll up and just shoot shells at Russia, and they're like, haha, we're at war now, hee hee hee, ooh ha hee, and then you get steamrolled and just whoopsie doodle. God, big dickhead behavior.
The war was of particular concern to the British, since the Middle East was full of oil, and Britain wanted all of that oil. First, the Ottomans tried to attack Russia in the Caucasus Mountains, but they weren't prepared for the cold, and many of them froze to death. Then they crossed miles of desert to take the Suez Canal from the British, but that failed too. Then the Allies tried to take the
Suez has been around for a long time then, huh?
Warfare campaign, but that also failed. The Ottomans blamed their initial losses on the ethnic Armenians living within Ottoman territory, and the resulting Armenian genocide led to the deaths of 1.5 million people. Then the Germans sent spies into Afghanistan to try to convince the Arab tribes there to rise up in jihad against the British and attack India. But that plan failed, partly because the spies got bored, brewed their own alcohol, and got drunk, which is a bad thing to do in Afghanistan. All these new frontiers hadn't
Imagine
done much
you're going there on a secret mission to try to
that the Allies had more men
concoct
and supplies
allies against Britain, but you just get plastered instead.
Before the war, there was a big conference that set out the rules of modern warfare. No chemical weapons, no killing civilians. Basically, don't be jerks. The Germans held a meeting and decided to be jerks. Zeppelin air raids commenced over British cities. They also started attacking the Allied trenches with chlorine gas, and they used submarines to sink civilian ships.
That is some dicketry on Germany's part right there.
Which had 159 Americans on board when it was sunk, further swaying U.S. opinion against the Germans.
Yep, that is gonna be a major mistake.
In chemical warfare soon after, and they had been hiding anti-submarine weapons on their civilian ships, which let the Germans justify their attacks. Meanwhile, Austria-Hungary still hadn't dealt with Serbia, so the Central Powers enlisted some help. Bulgaria wished it was bigger and was still bitter about losing the Second Balkan War. The Central Powers promised to make all of Bulgaria's wildest dreams come true if they helped, so they signed on, and together they knocked out Serbia. The Serbian troops retreated through Albania, which was neutral but had some ties to Austria-Hungary.
So Austria-Hungary entered Albania in more and more allies just to beat one tiny little nation. God damn.
Friendly invasion to chase down the Serbians, many of whom escaped by sea. It's 1916, and a lot is happening. As if they didn't have enough enemies already, Germany added one more to the list. Portugal had been getting a bit chummy with the Allies behind the scenes, and Germany didn't like that one bit. Around the same time, the only
Germany just declares war on Portugal because they're they're friendly with Europe.
So they kept them in port, except for one time when they had a big fight and a bunch of them got damaged, so they didn't try that again. The UK started conscripting.
Let's take our warships out and fight. Oh, they got damaged. Let's not do that again.
So they had plenty of reserves, which is just as well because the Western Front was about to get brutal. The longest and one of the bloodiest battles of the war started when the Germans launched an attack around the French city of Verdun. The French defended it desperately, leading to hundreds of thousands of casualties.
I've heard of
Under
the city
pressure,
of Verdun.
The French called on its allies.
Like, I'm pretty sure there's a movie about Verdun. I can't remember though. I'm pretty sure I've heard of that, but I'm pretty sure there's a movie about Verdun.
To do something to draw the Germans' attention away, so the British started their own long and brutal fight, the Battle of the Somme, with 60,000 British casualties on just the first day. It was also here that the British first used one crazy brand new piece of sci-fi technology.
Ooh, tanks!
The Russians had been getting pushed back further and further into their own territory, but in response to the French call for help, they began a huge offensive, and did really well until they ran out of supplies and got stuck. Seeing how well the Russians had been doing, Romania decided now would be a great time to jump in and win the war. And then they got pounded.
Oof.
The Greeks were fighting amongst themselves about whether to join the war or not. The king liked the Central Powers, while the Prime Minister wanted to join the Allies. After a brief national schism, during which the country split into two, the king finally abdicated and the country reunited. With Allied help, they began a new offensive. In the Middle East, Russia was pushing into Ottoman territory from the north. The British had also made a landing in Mesopotamia to protect Persia's oil fields, and they had also sent a small army up the Tigris River to try to take Baghdad, but the army got sieged in the town of Kut along the way, and eventually surrendered. A new offensive was launched from the south.
God, the Ottoman Empire is like one of those. I think at this point in history, the Ottoman Empire was up there with one of the older empires around, because it's like, if I remember my history right, the Ottoman Empire took over and conquered what was, I believe, the Byzantine Empire. If I'm remembering my world history right, they conquered the Byzantine Empire, which was at one point the Roman Empire. Because Roman Empire got split in half whenever Rome fell, but the half where their capital got moved to was in like Byzantine or something, and then eventually they got really tiny and got conquered by the Ottomans. I think so. I don't know, I might be wrong.
With all-out desert warfare. The offensive was aided by one famous British officer, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that wreaked havoc on the Ottoman supply lines. By the time 1917 rolled around, everyone was exhausted. There were mutinies in the French army, the German populace was starving, and the war had drained all of Russia's supplies. There was no clear winner, and it was still anyone's war. The only question now was, who was going to break first?
Yeah, it's like, everybody just wanted to fight, but they didn't think about the fact that there'd be consequences to just fighting each other like that. Now there's no food, no munitions, no supplies, no nothing.
And the answer was Russia. Tired of not eating and mad that a crazy magic homeless guy was calling some of the shots, there was an uprising in Petrograd complete with riots and strikes. The riots turned into a full-scale revolution, and a new government overthrew the Tsar. Then a few months later, the Bolsheviks overthrew the new government, and they pulled Russia out of the war. This was great news for Germany, who now only had to focus on the Western Front. But there was still one problem. The pesky United States of America was looking increasingly like it was going to join the war. America had been selling supplies to the Allies throughout the war, and was getting super rich off the back of it, meaning it was in fantastic shape and was dangerous to the Germans. So Germany sent a
Big
telegram
swole.
to Mexico saying, wouldn't it be crazy cool if you guys attacked America? But the British intercepted the message, showed it to the Americans, and that was the
Bruh.
final straw. American troops
How are you
began
gonna be
shipping
that
out to Europe.
stupid?
This was
How are you gonna be that dumb to try to entice Mexico into attacking the United States, only for your like message to be intercepted, shown the United States, and you basically just showed your own ass and got your biggest potential threat to join the war against you. Like, smooth move, dude.
terrible news for Germany, and they knew their only hope now was to force France and the UK to surrender before the fresh American troops arrived. It was now or never, so they started one final attack. They converged
good
their
luck
troops
with that.
and hit hard at the Somme and pushed the Allies back. They hit a second time further north, then again and again. With each hit, the Germans were
They're
spending
basically
more and
just
more
throwing
resources,
as many
while the Allies
bodies
were
as they
getting better
can.
and better at repelling their attacks.
And
By the
it's
fifth
not.
punch, the Allies held the line and even pushed back.
Yeah, it's not
With
good.
American
Like, you're
troops
basically
now
just
arriving in
throwing your
larger
guys
numbers,
into the meat
the Allies
grinder.
launched a counterattack, and that was it. The Central Powers were being pushed back on all fronts. Bulgaria collapsed first, followed by the Ottoman Empire, then Austria-Hungary, and finally on November 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock, Germany surrendered. At the peace treaty, Germany was forced to reduce its military, accept war guilt, and pay the bill for the war. After indescribable suffering and millions dead,
God damn.
the world learned its
17
lesson and
million.
never had such an awful war again.
17 million dead from World War I alone. All because one dude took a wrong turn, supposedly wrong turn, allegedly wrong turn, and got a dude shot. War be crazy, dog.
For about 20 years.
Yeah, for about 20 years. Enter World War II. An entire world war started because one dude got shot because the driver took a wrong turn. Supposedly a wrong turn. Or was it an inside job? But yeah, that was World War I. Oversimplified. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.